need to come together as a community and help each other out. Let's help these parents raise ADHD children to be successful and confident and hopefully less anxious than we are. So let's get into it. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're new here, my name is Steve and I talk about my experience with ADHD. And if you don't have children, that is okay. You're either here to help or you're here to try and gain some knowledge and some tips to raise ADHD children. Leave a comment about your experiences and maybe a tip or two that your caregivers could have done, a little differently to hopefully have a different outcome in your life, growing up with ADHD. I need some tips because I'm no expert, let me tell you. Trust me. Let me mention a couple things. One is parents do the best they can with the knowledge that they have at the time. So I want you to go easy on yourself when you're trying to parent children with ADHD. My wife and I used to always say, we have the right to mess up our children the way we see fit. And let's just face it, we're going to mess them up. I'm just prepared to apologize and hopefully help them work through those situations that I messed them up on. So go easy on yourself. And there's absolutely no scientific evidence, within this video. It's all about my experience, and I take my experience and try to raise my children differently than I was raised. All right, now let's get into how to raise ADHD children. I want to talk to the ADHD parent first. Tap into your experiences. That's what I've done, and a lot of times you'll realize that what your children are going through, you've probably experienced sometime in your lifetime, and you kind of have an idea of what they're thinking, maybe what they're feeling, and you can kind of help them work through it. Plus, your job is a little difficult because if you're late diagnosed like I am, you're learning about your brain, you're learning about your children's brain so you can help them out, and you're also trying to get your non-ADHD partner to understand what it's like to have ADHD and kind of be a little bit more understanding. It's a difficult job. To the non-ADHD parent, follow the 30% rule, especially when they're young children. See, the 30% rule is our maturity level is really 30% less than what our actual age is. And I say that because maybe a rule in the house or some of the responsibilities might be a little bit, non-age appropriate because, you got a rule for a 10-year-old when you should have a rule for about a 7-8-year-old. Yeah, I didn't do the math. You could probably tell that. But you know what I'm saying is your rule is probably a little older than what your maturity level of your child is. So also, I'm not too sure if we grow out of that. I like to think that I'm 30% younger, makes me feel good. Here's my first tip or philosophy, whatever you want to call it. Treat your children the way you want to be treated. I say that because, when I was growing up, I remember thinking a lot that, I had to ask politely for things, go outside, play the Nintendo, have a snack. And a lot of times when the adults in my life wanted something from me or needed something or even just wanted me to do a favor for them, it was more like barking orders at me rather than asking me. So it's like I was, giving them all this politeness to them and I wasn't really receiving all that politeness back. So it kind of felt like an unfair relationship, So the way I combat that with my children is I ask before I tell. I ask them to clean the room, to do the dishes, to do their homework, to go to bed. Now, granted, they have ADHD, so I'm probably going to have to ask them multiple times. And so probably around that 5th or 6th time, that's when I put my foot down and I start telling them, you have to do this now. Asking them really kind of gives them a sense of a mutual relationship rather than like a boss and employee type of relationship was what it kind of felt like when I was growing up. Not only that, if you ask them to do something, it's a little easier for them to initiate that task is what I've noticed. Now, sometimes it does take a little bit to initiate the task, but at least they're taking a couple of steps towards wherever they need to go to do the task. So if they're in the living room and I tell them to go clean the room, they have at least taken a couple of steps towards their room because, they have ADHD, so they're going to get distracted on the way. But with that said, at least they're moving towards doing the task, and then you don't have to yell so much. Tip number 2, give them as many choices as possible. When I was growing up, it just didn't feel like I had a lot of control over my life. I was told when to do it, how to do it, and what to do, right? And I couldn't really do things my own way in, certain aspects. Because of that, I give my kids choices, and it allows them to kind of, 1, feel included, depending on what those choices are, and 2, just have that sense of control over their own lives a little bit. And it also helps with trying to do chores or things that you need to do, like personal hygiene and stuff like that. For example, my older son, he does not like taking showers. And it's not that he wants to be dirty or anything like that. It's just his brain doesn't want to initiate that task. It's boring to him. It's just standing underneath the water and putting soap on you. That's pretty much about it, right? So I usually give him a choice. You can either do it now because we have nothing going on, or you could do it tomorrow. but you have baseball. And after baseball, you come home, you eat, then you got to take a shower. Then you have to go to bed because you got to get up in the morning to go to your swim practice. So you won't have any time tomorrow to yourself. However, if you do it tonight, you can do whatever you want for the rest of the night. Usually he'll pick, do it tonight, but every now and then he'll pick, doing it after baseball. And if he does, he realizes that's his choice. I didn't make him do that. I gave him a choice. So he has nobody to be upset at other than himself. Plus, it helps with kind of determining what would happen if you do it later rather than just doing it now. So, which will never probably go away because I still do things later, knowing the outcomes if I do it later. So family vacations. This is definitely something that I totally agree on because when I grew up, I didn't feel like I fit in with my family or even friends or coworkers or anybody, right? And so I feel that giving them choices within the family decisions helps them feel included. So if you're going on family vacation, give them a choice, but don't ask an open-ended question like, where do you want to go? That'll give them decision paralysis. What you really want to do is, do you want to go to Cancun, Europe, or Disney World? And even if you don't choose the option that they chose, they'll at least feel included within the family because it's a family vacation. They should get a say in where they go, right? Also, you could do it for things like buying a car. You know the car, the family needs of the car. You probably have a car in mind and you're probably going to buy that car anyway. But take 10 minutes just to ask them their opinions because it's a family car. They should have a say in what kind of car they get, right? So yeah, give them as many choices as possible so they feel included and they just have that sense of control over their lives. Tip number 3 is allow them to use their voice no matter what situation you're in. If you're disciplining them, you come home and all the lamps in the house are broken and you're just yelling at them for 10 minutes. If they have something to say, calm down enough for them to say it. Kids want to be heard. They want to express their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts, their opinions, their belief. And sometimes as adults, we shut them down. Not only that, especially in that lamp situation, you might find out that your kids didn't even do it. Your neighbor's dog got in the house and, broke all your lamps. So now you're in an awkward position because you realize you just yelled at them for 10 minutes and they didn't even do it. It'll help them advocate for themselves when they get older. I still have a problem going to the doctor saying my toe hurts. And then they say, well, I can't find anything wrong. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I walk out the door rather than advocating for myself saying, well, then who do I need to see because something's wrong and I can't walk. So I got to try and figure this out. I'm hoping by allowing them to use their voice, they'll be able to advocate for themselves. Also, on a kind of a side note, we tend to become followers. We follow the crowd, but a lot of that is because we're trying to fit in. We're trying to feel like we have some sort of group that we could go to and, be ourselves. We're hoping that if we go rob this bank over here, this group of kids will like us, right? But if they are allowed to use their voice and you allow them to make choices within their lives, I think that makes them feel included and feel a part of the family. Enough so that they know there's one place in the world that they could go to feel accepted, to feel like they fit in, and just to be themselves. So when that situation comes up, hopefully they'll go, you know what, I'm gonna go home and watch a movie. You guys go rob that bank. A couple of bonus tips. Let them explore as much as possible. And yes, some of their interests is going to cost money, cost time, cost resources that you might not have. And that's okay. But if you have the time, if you have the resources, and you have the money, definitely let them explore because let's just face it, they're going to give up on it 2 weeks later. As they explore this topic, they're going to learn a lot. And later on down the road, when they get a job, when they get into relationships, when they get to friendships, when they get to life in general, they're going to be able to tap into all those different little experiences that you allowed them to explore and realize that they have a lot more knowledge than, they thought they did. And then the last bonus tip is use humor, but use it carefully because you don't want the child feeling like they're being made fun of. So I try to include myself in a joke. My younger son, he's very clumsy. I was clumsy as a kid too. So a lot of times if I look at him and he's doing something that I don't think he's coordinated enough to do and he's going to fall and get hurt, I'll look at him and say, if somebody's shoe is untied in California, we're going to fall. But I include myself in that joke. Let me know, what your experiences are, especially if you don't have children, or if you do have children and you just want to put in your experience of what could have been done a little differently to maybe help you out. Put those in the comments. Let's help each other. Let's start this conversation. And that way we can help the next generation be confident and successful and less anxious. All right. I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you did, hit the like button. It definitely helps me out. And I will see you guys next time.